One word, written in chalk, in a beautiful copperplate script, over 500,000 times, over 30 years. Hello and welcome to Food for Thought. It's Mark Lockridge here, pastor of New Life Fellowship in Letterkenny and Milford Reformed Presbyterian Church. It's great to have you with us. That one word lit up the Sydney Harbour Bridge at the New Year celebrations way back in the year 2000. As mankind marked the turn of the millennium, Sydney honoured a man who called its inhabitants to think about a much longer period of time. Eternity. The single word eternity had been marked in chalk on pavements all over Sydney from the 1930s to the 1960s. Sydney's citizens would awaken each morning to find it written with care and beauty in all sorts of places. Not graffiti, but a wonderful, beautiful copperplate script. It served as a reminder, a challenge, and a promise. Eternity. Eventually the pen man, or chalk man, was tracked down. He was Arthur Stace, who became known as Mr. Eternity and became something of a Sydney legend, whose story and that one word brought hope and help to many. Arthur Stace grew up in an alcoholic household. Alcohol killed his parents and brothers, and his sisters were heavy drinkers and prostitutes who ran their own brothel. Arthur said he was always drunk, always broke. I was just one of a bunch of no-good derelicts. I started drinking beer, then wine, then spirits, and finally I was drinking methylated spirits. He turned to crime to finance his addiction, was often found poking through bins looking for food. On August the 6th, 1930, with the promise of a free cup of tea and a rock cake, he ended up in a church hall, surrounded by other needy people. He later said that he took one look at the Christian people there and said to the man next to him, "Look at them, and look at us. I'm having a go at what they've got. I got down and prayed for God to be merciful to me." That night, he said, a sinner was saved. And God transformed Stace's life. Sometime after that, he heard a preacher exclaim, "Eternity! Eternity! I wish I could sound or shout that word to everyone in the streets of Sydney." And in those words, Arthur Stace found part of his life's mission, bringing the word eternity to the people of Sydney. Stace began chalking his way through Sydney's streets and suburbs, reminding passers-by of God and his promise of hope and eternal life. It was a reminder. This world is not all there is. It was a challenge. Are you ready for eternity? In the Bible, we read that God has set eternity in our hearts. We were not simply made for a few short years. I think deep down we know that. We long for there to be something more than this life, something that continues on after the grave. The Bible tells us that's the case. This world is a stepping stone, and we are but a step away from eternity. And it's what we do with Jesus that determines where we spend eternity. He is the one who left eternity and stepped into time to provide salvation for us, so that we could stand washed and cleansed before the Judge of all the earth, like Arthur Stace, washed, cleansed, restored, forgiven. In his words, a sinner saved. And when that happens, that word eternity becomes a promise. Through Jesus, a glorious eternity can be yours. In a world fixated with the here and now, I wish I could shout that word to all in Donegal. Eternity, eternity. A reminder, a challenge, and a promise. Are you ready for it? Thanks for listening. And if you want to find out more about getting ready for eternity, drop me an email. mark@newlifefellowship.ie. Have a great week.